Good evening and welcome to tonight's chat. Been looking forward to this one for a while. A good friend of ours coming on this evening. Be really great to get some insights about his various parts of his career. Evening, Stuart. I hope you're well. So got obviously Nick Dougherty joining us shortly, who's had was a great playing career, moved into TV. Be great to get some insights about what's happening with regard to coverage and the tour and tournaments. As well as really look at his own playing career, moving into media career as well. So hopefully we'll see him very shortly. Hope everyone's keeping well. It's been a beautiful day today, so it makes it all the more hopeful that golf's going to come back on the agenda very soon. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Hello, mate.
I thought I'd dress smartly for you.
You were in great flow. Then you should just keep going.
So I've spent the last 15 years talking rubbish in front of people, so I could it's just trying to find a flow. What's it like being on bottom bunk tonight? You're usually on the top.
I know. I get to ask the questions. I usually just say a few words, sit back, and then they talk for 20 minutes. It's great.
So I thought I'd open up, as I've done with some of the other ones we've done, that obviously people know you currently for your career in TV, but had a pretty darn good playing career yourself as well. So kind of running through a little bit of a précis of your accolades. I thought we'd go right back to the amateur stuff. Actually had a huge amount of amateur wins with Faldo Series, 97, 99, 2000, Golf Foundation Player... Now, Golf Foundation, that is taking it back sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
Golf Foundation Player of the Year in 97. European Under-21 Champion 99, World Boys Champion 1999, Polo Classic Under-19 Champion 99 and 2000, Guatemalan Amateur 2000, Lake Makiri Amateur 2001, Amateur Team-wise, World Boys winner in 98-99, Jacques Leglise Trophy winner 98-99, but captain in 99.
You're doing great, keep going,
St Andrews Trophy winner in 2000 and Walker Cup winner in 2001, and that's just the amateur side of it.
Excellent, well done. Do you want a gold star for doing your research?
I like to try. I like to try. Yeah, I mean, with this kind of the priority, it would suggest there was a better amateur career than pro career based on only the 3 pro wins only.
All right. How do you turn this thing off?
But Rookie of the Year 2002.
I did. I won a lot. Having said that, in the amateur career though, I didn't win. I mean, the World Boys was massive in Japan. It was the first time I went there. The first time we went there, we won the team. The second time, we won the individual. And the third time, Hunter Mahan handed my butt to me. And I realised that there was a lot of other good players in the world other than me. I won a few biggies, but I didn't get to win one of... I won the stroke play part of the British Amateur, but I never won the British Amateur, never won the English Amateur. I did win some of those major ones, but I did win all over the world, which was cool. And some biggies in America as well. So it was a good career as an amateur.
Yeah, and then I'll finish off with the pro bits. Turned pro 2001, Henry Cotton Rookie of the Year 2002, 3 tour wins in Singapore in 2005, Dunhill Links 2007, and BMW International Open 2009. Playing all 4 majors, best finish US Open 7th at Oakmont in 2007, leading after the first round, and highest world rank of 46th in February 2008. And team-wise, Sevi Trophy 05, 07, 09, and Royal Trophy 09.
Yeah, you haven't missed anything out there. It's a bit disappointing, actually. But
sorry.
I'm taking great pleasure in telling you that. I did play. Did you get played for Lancashire B team when I was 13? Did you get that in there?
I didn't get that one. Although I did get that you went to school in Blackburn, which is just down the road from where my dad grew up. In we would say Darwin down here. I think you would probably say Darren.
Yeah.
I believe that's the way the Lancastrians pronounce it. I think, but
I've got to say they weren't my fondest days, mate. They're not the fondest days. I went to a great school.
Yeah.
I went to a great school. I was very lucky. My dad sent me to a great school in Queen Elizabeth's Grammar School in Blackburn. But it wasn't really meant for me, that. I was a Scouser who was a bit fat with a side party and who played golf, so you can imagine how well I did, can't you?
I can imagine not necessarily being flavour of the month with that kind of criteria.
No, I didn't have a lot going for me. I did quite well in school. I tell you where they were great, my school. They were very understanding of what I wanted to do. And don't get me wrong, I still had the odd teacher I always remember the physics teacher, Mr. Folds. I don't mind saying it because I really like him. He didn't like that I was going away and playing golf tournaments. He didn't like that I was like skiving off his lessons in his mind to go and play golf. It's like, get a proper job. It's like, you should focus on your future, son. This is fine.
You'll get nowhere doing that.
It's nice to do fun things, but you're going to have to get a real job. Like, physics teacher. You know what I mean? So it's just, I remember that, and he wasn't very supportive, but all of the other teachers at my school were dynamite, absolutely fantastic. The headmaster at the time, particularly so, our PE teacher, Mr. Butler, especially as well. And they were just whatever they could do to make my life as easy as possible, which is not always that way with sports. I mean, the success rate of people making it, kids to making it through to being on tour, is low. So, I dread the day that one day my little boy Max, who you've met, is going to say, oh, Dad, I want to be a tour pro like you, because what if it doesn't work out, mate? And it doesn't generally. And I know that sounds negative, but I know how hard it is. You're around these players, all sorts of ones coming through, ones who've made it to the highest level. It'd be Monty or someone like that. Stu knows it. He obviously coaches me, and it's tough.
Yeah.
So I get it why schools are a bit like that, but I was very lucky. I went to one where they helped me out. And as much as it wasn't my favourite time in my life, it was they allowed me to pursue the career I wanted.
And with the I guess on the amateur side of you spent a lot of time with Sir Nick Faldo. It was with the Faldo series, and he effectively sort of mentored you through the early part of your career. What was it like working so closely with someone that at that time was still up there winning majors, still foremost player, Ryder Cup player, and what was the most important thing he instilled in you moving forward in your career?
Well, I mean, it was a dream come true. It's the best way of describing it. It was like going to Disney World every day from when I was 14 years old, and to play, because Nick was my hero. Obviously, I'm an age at 37 now where I grew up with that. Obviously, as a Brit, we would obviously want to look up to things that Nick did as a 6-time major champion. But I was in the era where we got to watch it. So I was 14 years old when he beat Norman, and then obviously the next year, I was 15 actually when I met him. Sorry, 1997. But I was 14 years old when that last Masters happened, and it was just a great time to be around it. And so to get to not only hang out but learn from our best ever was something that was out of this world. And we got to do some cool stuff. I mean, we went on some great trips. I got to hang out with him, practice with him a lot. It elevated my understanding, because at that point you obviously have quite basic, good, but it's moved on so much now. I can't speak for the other golfing unions in the UK and Ireland, but the EGU were spectacular in what they do, how advanced they are now with the coaching. When we went back in the day, it was a little bit more sort of, like throw the balls up on with all due respect, it was a little bit more as we grew up playing. We'll get together, we practice all day. What we do? Let's hit some balls, do a bit of chipping, do a few games, then we all go sneak out at night and go down the booze and have a few pints, snake biting blacks down at the Tipsy Toad in Woodall Spa, and that's what it was back then. But but it's changed so much now. It really. The duration and intensity as well of it, but the ability to hit shots and his mind as well, because Nick's got a unique mind in how he sees stuff. I wouldn't necessarily say it worked in unison with mine, because he can deal with a lot of things going on from a swing point of view, which I don't deal very well with. I've tried to and failed. Stu would be the best one to attest to that, but Nick was great being able to carry lots of information, but we would do all sorts, and the way he'd make me practice and little games we'd play, I mean, it gave me an injection of enthusiasm to pursue what I was doing, and it did give me a big head start on all the other guys around me.
Because also, you came through a period where, I mean, the guys you played Walker Cup with, I mean, Casey was the Walker Cup before, but you were in the same team with Luke Donald, Graham McDowell, I think it was Graham McDowell, your team, Richard McAvoy, Mark Warren. So you have a bank of players that have all gone on to have a career, some stellar careers in the game. And actually to get that many from one group coming through, that's pretty rare. As you said earlier, so few make it.
That's why we pumped him 15-9 in America, though. Right?
That was quite a nice
one
result.
One of those one-off teams. I mean, to be fair, the 2 years before it now was pretty special. Dice, who was just on here recently, played in that one, and they won 15-9, but we won 15-9 in the States, which was unheard of at that stage.
And
there was a special team.
Was part of the, I guess, the success of that group of players moving forward that were you all in? Yeah, was in different. Actually, it would have been different in different squads because most from different, Ireland and Scotland and England. But did that group help drive each other forwards? And then how?
Each other. I didn't know GMAC. I'd never met GMAC and Luke until we got there.
Right.
I'd never, because Luke was playing at Northwestern.
Yeah.
And obviously I'd done the normal circuit. I was going to go to university in America. My mum pulled the plug on that because, mum and dad, because I was never going to finish my degree. And my mum had said, if you go to university, you will go and get your degree. And dad said, there's no way. As soon as he's ready, he's turning. The whole point of all this stress since he was 4 years old was that he gets out there on tour. So that was taken off the table for me. I don't know if that was good or bad in the end, but I didn't know these guys, and GMAT the same, playing out there. I think was he Alabama, GMAT? I think he might have been Alabama.
Not sure.
But anyway, two of the strong players in our team. The three of us were sort of the standout three in that team. I didn't know him. I roomed with Luke. That's when I first got to know him. Ruined his foursomes record by getting beat on the first day of the Walker Cup. He had a perfect record till then, but records are there to be broken. But Luke and I have been mates ever since. And there's some great bonds from that. It's the same. I ask the guys that when I do the Miracle and the Diet, and also I've done some of these watch-alongs that I've done on here on my Tea Time Tips talks, and I always ask them the same question because I'm interested to know that, and especially the one with Coltart the other day actually, because Brookline, where there's that sort of hurt at the end of it when we didn't get the job done, was there this bond. And also there seemed to be a little bit of three lads didn't get to tee it up till Sunday. I mean, I personally wouldn't have taken that very well. I got all the things Andrew was saying, and God bless him, the way he said, I was there for the team, we're there to win. Whatever my captain says I'm going to do, I get that, and I respect that. But it would have hurt. Yeah. But he said, and he 100%, I've asked him, I knew before I asked the question, to be honest, there is a different bond. Once you've done it, and you've been part of those things, you are different. You guys are different. Then that relationship, I can't geg in on that Ryder Cup relationship because I'm on the outside looking in with that. And to be fair, the Walker Cup one's a bit the same. When you've played at that very elite level, the very, very highest level, and especially at a record-breaking team like ours, you do have a bond. We will always have that. Jamie Elson, Macca, all those guys, Woofter, Wolstenholme was part of that team. Nigel was on that team. Nigel Edwards, who's now with the EG here, obviously. All the way through, so Stevie O'Hara, Michael Herry. Yeah, I mean, it's a proper team.
It was a hell of a team. Yeah, a hell of a team. Actually, with that, I'll come back to one other question I'm going to come back to, but you played a lot of team golf, both professional and amateur. And who was your best partner, and who did you enjoy playing with the most?
My best partner, I played well with Zane Scotland. I enjoyed playing with Zane. We were a partnership at Home Internationals. And we got on really well because we just wanted at them. We just it's like two little scrappy dudes, which is great. I give Luke a hard time because we always give each other grief about this, Luke Donald. And I say, actually, we're not made for each other though. We're not a good foursomes partnership because I'm not very straight off the tee, as everyone knows, especially if you've played with me. And so Luke isn't also very good from the trees. He's not creative like that. He hasn't got that mind like I have. He can't see these shots.
Develop the shots.
That branch over that branch around the next one. He doesn't see this. He's not creative like me. It's a weakness he has, right? It's a weakness in Luke, not me. Not me. So he's not great for my tee shots. And equally, I don't like having to hit 3-iron into every par 4 because he can't hit it out of his shadow. So, it's one of those things. We weren't in a relationship.
I've always felt pair-wise, I don't know if you feel the same, but I've always felt, the sort of the zenith of my team golf was winning the plate at the Halford Shirt because we don't have a good enough team to get past the Friday.
Really?
But we have won something finally, which was amazing. But I think pair-wise, it almost needs to be either two people with a very similar game or two great mates. But
I think similar game works because you just see it the same. So I really do think that works. I mean, I remember Gary Wolstenholme and I played together, and we did one match ever together, and we got beat 6-4, and it was the worst 3 hours of my life. It really was. And there's no disrespect to Gaz, but it's just so different in character, in golf game. There was just no. But he was like the old guy who was like the shepherd, and I didn't need that. I needed to be on the front foot. It's like I'm going to beat anyone, and that's I'm bulletproof. I'm 19 or 18 or 17, whatever it was at the time. I'm bulletproof. It's just like, get out of the way. I got this on my own, mate. As you do when you're that age. So I didn't need a shepherd. So yeah, I think matching the golf games is particularly important. We had a very different. Gary's super straight, super straight, but not very long. So I just think it's important. And of course, those guys, they're not. With all due respect, they're not used to playing from the rough. From the trees. You know, they're just never over there. And there's an element, I was thinking, those
like,
sort of
what am I doing in here?
But also feeling, I felt really guilty with him. Like, I remember meeting him into this, we were playing Ocean Forest, and we played a lot of the forest part of that. So, you know, I'm like, oh God, I wasn't driving it very well that week. But, you know, I hit it into trouble off the tee, and I go in there, and you can see him looking, I'm looking at him. And we know it because we're rooming to go in and everything, but I'm looking at him and I'm just like, he hates me. Yeah. He hates me. I can tell he hates me. He's thinking, how the hell's this lad got on the team? And to be fair, he's got a point because I am 30 yards off the fairway. But I would be all right here because I just let get out and knock one out, just hook it round there. Yeah. And it's just, I don't think I'm built for foursomes is probably the message here.
As someone said, MTJ golf, captain's fault then, Nick. Definitely. Selection issue.
Yeah, always a selection. It's never the player's fault, is it? Unless you're the captain, and then it probably is the player's fault.
So then switch from amateur pro golf. I think back then probably slightly different to now. But how much of was there a kind of shock to the system when you went to the pro game? Was there how much of a difference was it to make that step up to playing tour level golf, having been a top level amateur?
Not a lot for me for the reasons. First of all, Nick that we talked about. I'd had a great experience. And the wonderful thing about Nick was when I went to play on European Tour events, so the other part that really helped was that I played like 12 events or something. Yeah. Before I turned pro. Hang on, no, I missed the first 3. I think I might have played 10 or 11 perhaps. But I missed my first 3 cuts I ever got invites to, but then made all the rest. So like 7 in a row, which would have been good for me when I was in the peak of my powers, to be honest. But I was building all the time. And every time I turned up, so the first one just blew me. I was 16 years old playing at the British Masters, and my first hole, my ball sticks up the tree on the Dukes course. So we started on, I forget the run of the hole.
Second leg, isn't it?
It was 8 or 9 at par 5 with a tree in the fairway on the Dukes. Was it 10? Or 11, because I remember it wasn't the exact way the course was supposed to be. But anyway,
because they normally finish on one, don't they? The par 5, don't we finish on that?
Yeah, so, but we were starting out on the other 9, and I remember I hit my first tee shot, pulled it a bit, went up behind the tree. I hit it. My very second shot I ever hit on a European Tour event as a 16-year-old boy was a left-handed chip out. And the next shot's over the tree, and still reached the green in 3, sticks up the tree. I'd never had a ball at that point in my life stick up a tree. My third shot on the European Tour, ever, was my ball staying up a tree. I made an 8. I mean, if there wasn't an omen then that this wasn't the right path for me, it was there. The head came off my driver when I got onto the back 9. It flew off after I hit a tee shot. So, I mean, the signs were there. The signs were definitely there that I was pursuing the wrong career. But it was a baptism of fire, and I got a bit closer. I just missed it, the Dutch Open at Noordwijk. I made a double near the end to miss by 1, I think. And then once I made one, which was in Morocco, I can't remember the tour, it was Moroccan Open, or it wasn't called the Hassan Dur back then. I made the cut, and I just slowly then built to the point where I finished 12th, I think, at the B&H at the Belfry as an amateur. And I knew, because I'd done that, and also being around Nick, so I'd play in these events like the European Masters and be there when Nick was there. And all of a sudden, I turn on, I see Nick. I'm like, oh, it's Nick. All right, Nick. And I'm chatting to him, and everyone else, they're all looking at him like I used to look at Nick when I was 15. Because they were all like, oh, here's Nick Faldo. Which I get, because it's only the same way I used to go on when I was then on tour, and I'd see Tiger, or a player of that ilk. There's Vijay, it's Tiger, it's Ernie. As you do when you first get on tour. But to me, it's just Nick, because I've spent so much time with him. I mean, I've stayed with him. We've been on trips. We went to see Sam Snead together. We've done all these things. It's just Nick.
With that one, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's just Nick. Whereas to them, it's like this is that's Nick Faldo. Yeah. So there's an element of comfort that I thought, wow, these guys, look at them, they're starstruck. And I think it was all of these things contributed to making me feel more comfortable. So then when it came the time to pull the trigger and go to the Q school after that Walker Cup, I just believed it was going to be a breeze. I'm a big believer in self-fulfilling prophecy, and I think if you believe things are going to be a certain way, it doesn't guarantee it, but it makes it a lot easier. You know, I certainly wasn't in my own way at Q School, and I did cruise through.
And to say, you feel like you belong there already. I mean, I guess you're on the other side of the camera now, in terms of if you got a player like you would have been then, a young player rising up the ranks, finishing 12th, the media would be, you'd be all over them. This is the next big thing. And actually, so from the player's standpoint, what's it like having the spotlight on you in that way?
It's quite enjoyable at that age, because you believe that you're master of the universe, don't you? And which is great, and you should never lose that. The thing is, as well, as I chatted about this with Simon Dyson the other night, it's like I've learned a lot about myself more from the failings, as we all do, than from the successes, and my position, and about my ego and its role and how it's changed over the years, all for the better. But I still wouldn't change those early years. It was wonderful for a period of time to be bulletproof, or to believe that anyway. So the way I would perceive events in my life would always be to make me feel better, even if they were actually bad. Like you'd lose a blow a tournament. I didn't think that. I got a terrible bounce there, didn't I? It'd be almost Monty-ish. You know what I mean? And so it's like Monty was the best at this, and this isn't a criticism. This is one of his great strengths, was that something would happen and Monty would find a way to divert it away from potentially being detrimental to his game, and it being something out of his control. Oh, Marshall, or bad club from Al, or whatever, you know, or this doesn't feel right, you know, like something's wrong with this, we need to change this drive, it's not right. Very, very clever, you know, because it allowed him, and as much as it might not have always been what people enjoy to watch, it did help him on his way to being one of the standout players of our generation. You know, you can't criticise what Monty's done in the game. So I thought he was one of the brilliant people at being able to take away. He never really damaged himself in terms of his confidence, but he did that on long term as he got older as well, which was really remarkable. When we're kids, we all think like this, and I did. You know, I got out there and I just thought everything I touched would turn to gold. You know, and to the point where that's why I was going out so much when I was on tour. I think at the start, I just believed that I could go out, feel terribly hungover, and still beat everybody. You know, even though the results were telling me different, I was like, yeah, I'll be fine though. It'll be fine. I'll be fine.
What was your best hungover performance? Best hungover round?
Oh, I shot loads of good scores hungover. I did it a lot, which didn't help, because self-fulfilling prophecy, I really started to buy into.
Is it one of those, if you're feeling that bad, you're just trying to stay alive, so you just get on with it?
The best performance I ever had, this is embarrassing, but the best performance I ever had was having not had a chance to sleep, shooting 1 under par at Costa Davey, which is the world's worst golf course. Although I shouldn't say that, because my mate Kenny Ferry won the Spanish Open there. But it's a golf course where as they go down the hills, there's little walls, like little brick walls. So when you look back up from the green to the tee, it's just like a giant wall when you look at. But when you're playing down, all you see is grass. Oh. But it was a terrible golf course. Yeah. It was a bit of a. And anyway, we were having a great time because it was in Tenerife. So we were out every night, like literally. And that's how tours changed. And it's good that it has. But again, as I was saying with Simon the other day, I would never change any of these things, you know, because it was all part of my life and my experience of life, and I had just the best time, you know. And I did I worked hard when it came down to it, and I learned my lessons from this as well, and I turned it around and I worked hard and became a developed player and won tournaments. And what happened at the end was on the back of almost the opposite end of this scale, actually. But I lived it. My God, it was the time of my life, mate. It was the time of my life. 19 years old, traveling around the world, making great dough. Like as someone who's famous, playing sport, with people wanting my autograph, staying in the best hotels, playing the best. What are you doing today? I will go. Just play 9 today, lads. Should we go out and have a few early bevies? You know, I mean, like, this was like, come on. This is what it's all about. And as a 19-year-old, you think like this. They don't necessarily now. They're much more mature at that age. But we were a great bunch of lads having a great time travelling around the world. And anyway, that one there, I'd gone out and I thought I'd missed the cut. I was 5 or 6 under. It was a super easy course. But I was 5 or 6 under, I was going to miss the cut. And anyway, I hadn't missed the cut, but I was all ready when the text came through that I was at a tee time. And obviously, because it was on the cut market, it was an early tee time. I just thought, I'm out now, aren't I? So So I stayed out, and we went on from bar to bar to bar, and then to one of my pals who owns a bar there. We went to his house where he kept the bar open, and then home, showered, changed too early to the golf course actually in the end. And I shot 100, shot 69.
Fair play.
Not bad, is it?
No. Quick question: is it true you had Georgie Best on your shoes?
What's that?
Question: so did you have an image of Georgie Best on your shoes?
So my nickname was Bestie. But the joke about that really is the only thing I could have kept up with George Best with was probably the going out. When it comes to talent, it was massively over flattering, let's be honest. Because the thing is, I used to it came back from those days and it was just the lads, because I was just, and that's the thing, the funny thing I was talking about the other day, there's a part of me is sad that I look at that person and people tell these stories when we go out. I was with Webby when I was at the mate's mine, William Bruce, my best mate, his wedding, and Webby was there in Dubai with us, and he starts telling these stories about me, and I'm like, did I? Did I? I don't even reckon. I'm like, what? No, I wouldn't have done. He did do that. I'm like, oh my God. And there's a part of me thinks, God, he sounds so free and easy and fun and no responsibility. And there's a part of me that envies that person, although I can't remember him. I really can't. I also think, God, he didn't sound like he was scared of anything. And I don't really remember. Because at the end I was very much the opposite, fearful of a lot of things with golf, and a great feeling of responsibility. And I hate the idea, I still do, of feeling like I'm letting people down. But at that stage, I was living the dream. And I'm a massive Man U fan as well, so George Best was a hero of mine. And so I think for me, getting to know him through Phil Hughes, who's a friend of mine, who was his manager, God bless him. And so obviously when George was around, I'd never got the chance to really hang out with him, but we stayed until I spoke to him on the phone, so I was a big fan. So it was really flattering, although obviously from a talent perspective, we're not even in the same stratosphere.
Yeah. One other question that came through earlier on, I guess going back to the amateur pro side of things, was between amateur and pro game, is there a technique difference, or is more of it the mental strength to go out and grind a score out and compete on that? I guess that kind of cutthroat. It's a bit more cutthroat on the pro tour.
I think it's changed that. I think in our day there was more of a difference technically. I think the honest answer is yes, mentally, from amateur to professional, as it was in my day, as it is now. Technically, I think they're better now than they ever were. I think the coaching level is so good now within the golfing unions. I was mentioning this golfing union, the level of coaching, but also the level of way they practice, and they're bringing in the best people. They're bringing in the same people that the tour players are working with. Yeah. So you're getting that level of coaching and advice available to these players. They've got their heads screwed on. It's so competitive as well that you can't afford to give up or give a head start to someone by being hungover. Is an ugly example, but by not putting in the hard yards, by slacking off with your work ethic, by neglecting an area of your game, by not putting in the work you need to, and you should be doing, for not having your equipment exactly where it needs to be. You just can't afford that now. The margins are too small. Back then, it was a little bit more lackadaisical, a little bit more that way. And I think when we turned pro, one of the things we realised was that the tour players were much, much, much better around the greens than us. More so than the technical stuff with the golf swing, there was always that to change. And I think most players you watch and you look at them where they were when they turned pro to where they are 2 years in, they're much more solid, more repeatable. Doesn't necessarily mean that it looks more pretty, but much more repeatable in their action. Because in the end, that's golf, right? It doesn't matter really what it looks like, it's what it produces. Whether that be numbers on a TrackMan that tells someone like Stu exactly what you're doing, it doesn't necessarily matter, I guess, whether the grip looks like Dustin Johnson's or Jordan Spieth's. It doesn't matter. It's what it's delivering on there. That's how you're going to weigh and measure it. And then what it's delivering out there in terms of repeatability, comfort for the player as well. But around the greens, the ability, as it said on one of the things at Nick Faldo's Golf Institute in Orlando, where I used to practice, the ability to turn 3 shots into 2 is what makes or breaks a score. And it's so true. And so often in amateur golf, it was the last thing we'd really work on. because you know, we always idolised the stripers, didn't we?
Yeah,
you know, the ones that, like, I was thinking my day there was an Irish player called Noel Fox.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the quality of his, but I've still never seen a tour pro better, including Tiger, that struck the ball better than this guy. Now, granted, they were hitting off links turf all the time, so it was a help, but it was so good. But in the end, wasn't really even one of necessarily the shining lights in amateur golf, because it's a much bigger thing than just how you strike the golf ball. It's about your how many it takes to get it in the hole. And around the green, I learned so much those first couple of years by being beaten by guys who weren't as good as me.
Was that due to variety of, I mean, certainly in Europe, the amount of variety in conditions and course types and your grass types? Is it partly to do with that, or is it just the fact that you've just got to, there's more on the line in terms of getting it around in one less shot?
You travel even more than you did as an amateur. Yeah, you do. I mean, especially around here, you're doing a lot in Asia. You're going down to Australia and playing as well, obviously quite a lot. All different types of grasses. And then when you're playing in the States, you have to develop just a great artillery. And that still stands true, I think, for European Tour players compared to PGA Tour players. The variety required to play on our tour, or to play both, to be a Rory, for instance, or a Tommy, that's a level up on being a PGA Tour player. Because from my experience of PGA Tour golf, and I played plenty of golf over there, whether it be WGCs, majors, or some regular events as well, once you're in a run, you get swings of like this style, and then you might switch in grass, but then you'll switch for a month. We're switching every week. You know, and we're switching from, it's freezing cold, we're playing in the British Isles, and then you're going out to China, or you're in Malaysia, or you're going down to Perth to play, or, you know, and it's changing all the time, or you're down in Africa and the grain's making the ball move up the hill. You know, it's just like, it's having to adapt always. I think is one of the great skills of the tournament professional. And that's what makes, I think, these guys stand out as global players for me. And I think that's one of the things I had to learn quickly, and they still do when they get on the European Tour, because the European Tour is effectively a global tour outside of the United States.
And there's that part of what, I mean, Brooks did his time on the Challenge Tour, and he often does talk about it. But is that partly kind of why he's, I don't know, just such a complete competitor in terms of those sort of,
I think
like, he's obviously got big game mentality, but you know,
he credits it a lot, doesn't he, as well? He does mention it a lot. He's always talked about how much he learned and how much he enjoyed those years. I think there's an element of knowing Brooks, because we played together on the Challenge Tour. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I barely saw us in because we were going so fast in different directions that I barely got a chance to see him. We played at the grand final in San Domenico, and I just remember, all I'm thinking is, oh my God, what am I doing here? What happens? And he's thinking, right, okay, next up European Tour, I'm going to win out there, and then I'm going to, you know, we just get a different side. You know, he's the bulletproof guy now, and he's the old guy that's like lost his game and losing his way. And I remember playing with him and thinking at the time he was very impressive. But I didn't necessarily know he would go on to be that good. His body type has changed so much.
Yeah, I was going to say, drastically different physically.
Very slim. And he's an incredible player, tough competitor as well. I really like him. The mentality that he exudes and the persona he exudes is not for me necessarily fit into how I know Brooks, though. I think an element of that is his performance profile in terms of this is what he wants to put out there. This is the way you go about it. And I think he is ruthless. I do think he's ruthless, which is what makes him a great major champion. But I think he's a lot nicer guy than the public think. And it doesn't mean that they think he's a bad guy. They just see him as cold and shut down. Like, you know, watching an interview, he's straight back. You know, he just like, yeah, you know, that's what I'm trying to do. And you get the feeling that the interviewer is looking at him thinking, oh, a bit like Tiger, don't ask him a bad question or a stupid question, because he's going to, you know, have a go. Now, I don't think that when I'm stood across from him, but I do feel that sometimes when he's interviewed by other networks, that there's potentially people look at him and maybe worry about what he's going to answer. Because if he doesn't like the question, you're getting 3 words back. You know,
and he's not taken on a bit of that kind of, I wouldn't call it bad guy mentality, but there was a period, I guess, I think was it last year, probably second half of last year in particular, where he was a little more outspoken. He almost sort of played a bit up to sort of the pantomime villain element, the challenge, the rivalry of Rory.
He's the anti-Rory.
Is that media based, or is it something? Do you think it's something he's actively gone down a route to give him a niche?
I honestly think I think there's an element of truth to it all, because I don't think he cares, and I admire that about him. Well, I'd love to live in the world, and that's what I envy of that. I don't know if it was true, or if I was just oblivious, but I don't live in a world where I don't care what people think. And the most wonderful thing in life is that, don't get me wrong, not to the point where you think, oh, you know, I don't care about people. Not that. It's being so confident in the fact that I'm going to do what I feel is right. That what you think about that, that's up to you, but it's zero influence on my life. And I don't think many people can honestly say that in their walks of life. And we're just using Brooks as an example, but I think in all of our lives, how often are we ever in that position where we're stood across from someone and actually my standards are all I really care about? So I'm here talking to you now, and do I care what the people watching this are thinking about, how well you think this is going, how well this will do for precision golf, how well this will do for anyone else watching, what they might learn, or do I just see it as an opportunity to spend time with the pal? And actually, I have my own standards. This is what I want to do. I want to tell a story. It's something that's meaningful to me. Hopefully, it'll mean something to someone else. Yeah. And if you can live like that, where all you're doing is looking after you, then I think you're on the right road for having control over the things that you can. And I think he's great at that. I think we become unstuck when we start worrying and reading into what everyone is thinking. And in golf, that's dangerous, because the better you get, ironically, the more you're there to be shot at. The more you're there, ironically, by people like me, because it's my role to play devil's advocate. Yeah. So this guy, he's won 10 in a row. So I need to also at the end ask the question, but 3 months ago he had a chance at so-and-so and he did. And so if you're watching this and listening to it, that's going to wind you up. You know, but that's just if you care. And I don't think that Brooks cares what we think, which I think is a good thing. I think he's just all about, I do my best, I work hard, I'm proud of what I do, and that's good enough for me. If you like that, great.
Yeah, true. So there's a great question about mixed golf coming up, but I will root back into that one later on, because I want to ask you about where you think golf goes moving forwards, but I want to cover a couple of other bits first. I want to do just a couple of kind of quick fire question things, just a quick answers. So were you technical player or field player?
At my best feel, at my worst technical.
That wasn't asked by Stu either. Favourite tournament / course to play, and favourite tournament to visit and commentate on now?
I missed the first bit of that side. What was that?
I was saying that the question before wasn't a question asked by Stu.
No, I know that. Go on to the next one.
So what was your favourite tournament or course to play, and what's your favourite tournament to visit or commentate on now?
I think my favourite course and tournament to play was the Masters. Masters, sorry, it's my northerness coming out. Because it's just such a special... there's so many reasons behind it. It is too long a story. But the Masters for me, because these are the short, quick-fire answers, the Masters would be that, and Augusta National, just because they're unique and special, and not everyone gets to say they've done it.
We'll come back into that a little bit, because I think everyone wants to know a bit about the Masters anyway.
And to present would be the same. Would be the same answers, same place.
So we'll root back to that one later. Favourite player to play with on tour?
Tiger would be my favourite. You weren't keeping them short.
That's absolutely fine. Yeah. Best friend on tour?
My best friend on tour? Oh God, now all the others are going to see now, because I care what they think about me. All of them. I just like them all.
Nice.
No, my best friend on tour, it's a hard one. Dice, I don't really separate it. Dice, Kenny, Webby, JD. I see us all together as one group of lads, really. If I had to pick one, it'd probably have been Dice, I suppose.
Cool. Proudest moment in golf?
Proudest moment would have been birdieing, ironically, none of the wins, birdieing the last 4 to make the cut at... birdieing 4 the last 6 after doubling the 12th at Augusta to make the cut.
Nice. Best caddy?
It's definitely not Stu. Stu's a great caddy, to be fair, but my greatest success came with Stretch. Ian Moore, who I had 2 of my wins with. He's a great friend to me as well. And ironically, on the back of that, I was going to start work with another guy who I think we'd have had a great relationship, Charles Nasworthy, who I met at Augusta. He was a caddy at Augusta, and he was going to start caddying for me the week after. And at Harbour Town, we were in contention to win there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, all the stuff happened with my mum. And because of the nature of how my life turned upside down, he was coming to Europe to be my full-time caddy. It just all didn't happen. So it was, we had 3 days in the sun where we had a chance to win on the PGA Tour, and that was the end of our relationship, unfortunately. In terms of, we're still friends now on here, we interact all the time, but yeah, that was the end of our relationship.
So a question just asked, favourite hole played?
Favourite hole played? You know what? I'm going to pick my favourite course in all the world. If I had one course, and people who ask me this, because you get the same answer every time you ask me, is Kingsbarns. It's my favourite place. If I had one round of golf left in my life, it would be Kingsbarns. And my favourite hole there is, I'm going to do it on the spot. I never have to really pick which one. Well, just because it will last longer. Because I would say 15, which is signature, because it's just the most stunning par 3. But the 12th, the par 5 there is, it was as if God made it. That's the best way of describing it. It's perfect. And
least favourite hole played?
The 18th at Carnoustie.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the 18th at St Andrews.
No, I love that. Why would I hate that?
Because apparently you need a hard hat on if you're walking up the road on the right when you're on the tee.
Well, the buildings are there to throw it back on there on occasion. Stu's seen that happen, made a 3 from there. Thank you very much. No pictures on the scorecard. So, no, I'm all for that. You never know, and you could hit one. You could miss the largest fairway in golf and still get a bounce off a building to come back on it. So that's always going to get my votes high. However, that's less the case at Carnoustie, where I made a 13, and I think Stu was counting for me when I made the 13. I think Stu was counting for me when I made the 13. I hit 4 balls out of bounds, and to be fair,
that must have been a quiet walk to the clubhouse.
Or the second shot, and if you added up how far all 4 balls were out of bounds together, it was probably less than 10 yards. That all together. I mean, literally right by that little fence there, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, oh, look at all those balls. I could have played any one of them and made my 4, and instead I'll make a 13. So, and I shot 86, which is my highest score, obviously, on tour.
Finished on a high note.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good time. Someone from the media actually said to me on the way out, as I was, he was. Stu's just written there. Yes, I was. Yeah, good time, Stewie. And someone actually stopped me to say, can we have a few words? And I told them no, all words.
Sure, flowery language, I'm sure.
We did back up. Stu's made a good point there. We backed up with a 68 the next day at Kingsbarns because it's my favourite place.
So, moving on to the TV career side of things, as you finished your playing career, move into that. What was that something you'd kind of thought about doing, or was that something? How did that come about in the first place? Was Dine influenced with that?
Effectively, golf sat me, to be honest, Si. So, no, you know what? I spent 5 years on the Stu. I want to give a lot of respect to Stu because the bit that makes me sad about my relationship with Stu is I was in a horrible place with my golf game where I lost my way. It all goes back to a long time. Mental stuff happened, and then instead of dealing with that stuff, I tried to change technique and start working through coaches. Loads and loads of coaches got worse and worse and worse. I didn't know which way was up, and I couldn't find the golf course. And I had this massive yip or off the tee is probably the best way of putting it. We could go. We're talking offline, scary offline to the right. And career-ending shot, really. So I could play lovely, but I'd lose 3 or 4 balls in a round of golf, and the rest of it would be great, but I'd shoot 77 and work hard for it as well. And Stu came on, and Stu originally started working with me from HeartMath, from a HeartMath perspective, which is where his qualification was. And I didn't even know he was a coach, and he was caddying for me, and we were finding a way mentally for me to deal with this. And then he started to help me in my game. And one of the reasons I admired Stu was that whereas everybody had decided to throw their 2 cents in, a lot of them for the right reasons as well, because they wanted to help me, which was lovely. Actually, a lot of them was because they want to be if you can be the person to fix Nick Dougherty. I already had pedigree on the European Tour. I'm a 3-time winner on the European Tour. I'm well known, and I've lost it. If you're the guy that fixes him, you're in, right? And I don't blame that. This is a business. It's from a personal level, not very nice for me to make peace with, but I that's how it is, unfortunately. Stu didn't do any of that, and I love the fact that he didn't push with any of that stuff. So we went away and slowly but surely built and built and built. And I remember the bit that people never get to see was the fact that we finished in the top 30 at the Dunhill Links, from being a guy that ran out of balls at Fancourt on my way to shooting in the mid-90s because it was so bad. And being grateful that I'd run out of golf balls, so I wasn't going to be embarrassed that I was going to shoot in the mid-90s. I was 1 under after 6 holes and 15 over, stood on the 16th tee, having already hit one ball in, lost at Fancourt, because off the fairways it's 2.5 feet deep and you just don't get to play it again. So it might as well have OB left and right. That's as bad as it got. That was the bottom of the barrel. To go from that to being able to compete on the European Tour when you're only playing 4 events, and I'm spending the rest of the time bouncing around the Challenge Tour events, which my ego was obviously, you can imagine, adoring. It was really hard, and Stu stood by me through all of that and helped me to a point where I could compete and I could enjoy the game again, more importantly. So the thing that makes me different to most when they stop playing is that I still love to play golf, and that is mainly down to the fact that Stu gave me the tools to be able to play the game and enjoy the game and learn the game again from a new perspective. And so unfortunately we made that journey, but I was still playing on the Challenge Tour. And to answer your question with regards to how it came about, it was really through Di, because of the contact. So the boss of golf had asked Di, would I do some? And I'd always said, no, I'm not doing any of that stuff because I'm a tour player. And if I play on tour, as soon as you start dabbling with that stuff, you might as well just pack it in, because that's like one foot in both camps. And I'm an all-in sort of person. And that was naive and silly, actually, because I'd spent 5 years of only ever really getting bad news. And then I went and said, okay, I'll do one. And I went in and I did it, and I think it might have been Bay Hill or something. And it was with Dave Livingston, who I've known obviously for donkey's years. And I came off and I all this praise, people saying, great job, wow, I thought you were fantastic. And you know what, you shouldn't try and just satisfy the ego in life, and it goes against what I believe in. But it was nice to not be treated like I was ill by people I cared about, because it was, that was the sort of like, you're all right, sort of, which is lovely, but not helpful, and not nice either. I couldn't escape it because I was so attached to Nick Dougherty, the golfer, that I couldn't be a person. And that was me, though. That was me. I identified as the golfer and the score, hence. So if I was 66 when I was playing well, which is what I'd always hinged on, my self-worth, I also had to be the 76 or 77. And that's what I was doing all the time now, was always the bad score, because I was shooting them. So I did this, thought, wow, this was quite good fun. And anyway, it developed from there to the point where I was doing okay with it. And the boss of Sky Sports at the time called me in and said, we see you within a period of time becoming lead anchor for the golf. That's what the vision is for you to do. I thought, wow, that's cool. And the reason I really thought it was cool was, one, I sort of, even though I'd got to the stage where I could play good again, I didn't have the same love for it. And I think after that, we haven't talked about it, but after my last win, when it was hollow, when I thought I'd have my moment after my mum had died to be able to win for her, and it didn't mean anything like that, I think I decided that golf would never be the same for me anymore then. Right. And it was never the same, and it wasn't easy, and I didn't like it, and I wasn't getting the enjoyment out of it. It just didn't tick the box for me anymore. So I was actually sort of thinking, yeah, I could see me doing something different. I could see this. And I was really enjoying it. And the golf side from Sky is, you're part of the team, you're a cog in the wheel. It's not the CEO like I was when I was the player, you're the big boss and stand on top of the mountain. No, I'm a cog in the wheel that makes this product, and we all rely on each other, and I love that. It sort of suits me. I'm built to be a team player, and I like working with people, and I like them leaning on me, and I need to lean on them, and we do it together. And it means more because it's for each other. Because golf, winning tournaments in the end, I realised was never really for me. It was more to satisfy Dad and Mum, and they felt good, and they put so much in, and it made me feel good to watch them feel good, which is not really the right place to come from with it. And whereas this is for me, and I enjoy being able to work for each other as we do out there on Sky, and it's very rewarding, very rewarding.
It's very evident that the Sky team all get on well. I mean, particularly you see kind of you and Andrew Coulthard and Beamer, Birch, Wayne Riley. It's very clear that there's a really good, I guess, just a good bond between you all. You can tell you get on well off screen as well as on screen.
We do. I think we've all got the story as well. We've all played. I mean, to be fair, there's a few obviously people who are TV people like Sarah and Jamie Weir and people like that, but the majority of us are tour players, and most of us are tour winners. Nearly all of us, in fact, are tour winners. So we've all been good, varying degrees and add-on moments. Some of them Ryder Cup players like Colty, but we've also failed miserably, and we've had our run. And we had our ride, and it was magnificent, and then it plummeted, and then there might have been another bit of brilliance, and then so we know what it's like. There's great bits, there's bad bits, but it's all part of the journey. And I think we've all made peace with the fact of it's been pretty good to us, golf. So we've all got that story, and there's an immense amount of respect there. So as much as we give each other a lot of stick, and I do, I enjoy it greatly, especially with Colty and Radar, but Beamer as well. As much as we give each other stick, it's built on. You can only have that with people if you respect them. If I don't respect you and I give you stick, that's just mean. So unless we're mean people, it's done in the right spirit. And I can only mock Andy because the fact is he was a bit of a world beater in his time. So I think it's I love it. I look forward to going to work. I look forward to creating programming. It's very creative, and the pressure and the environment when that red light goes on, you're making live tea, feels a bit like playing. It feels a bit because it's on you. Come on, do it now, deliver now. And the bigger the audience, the Masters when Tiger wins. I mean, I can feel my heart suddenly coming out of my chest when I'm doing it. And don't mess. Jesus, this is an iconic moment. Oh my God, it's my first Masters, and I've got Tiger Woods winning it. I'm like, oh my God, have you messed this up? This is how it'll be remembered. People, do you remember when he blew that? It's like Tiger's done his bit. Now you need to do yours. And the pressure of it, I love. And I think about it the way I did when I was young on tour. I feel a bit bulletproof in terms of I look at it and I think there's a part of my head goes, oh my God, what if you forget what to say? And in TV, there's a very normal thing called corpsing. And it's when you look at the camera and you know it's your turn to talk, and you think, I can't remember what I want to say. And you're trying so hard to remember what it is. And it's like a wet bar of soap, you can't grab it, and so nothing comes out. And you think, well, no, you think of something you would if it wasn't live TV, and all you think about is, oh my God, so many people are watching it. Oh my God, I haven't spoken yet, and it just snowballs. And it's a normal thing that happens. And you do get moments when you blank, but I just have this in my mind thing that I'll be all right. It's going to be all right, which is sort of how I used to be when I played golf when I started out. And I look across at the guys and think, we're going to be all right. And it's fun because it's just like, you never know. It's like golf, you never know what's going to happen. What things go wrong all the time from the guys who are in my ear, and that we have problems. Things go on. Things don't go to plan, and it makes it a lot of fun.
And does the fact that you've all played to a decent level, I've seen how your relationship with the players who are at the Sky Card are doing interviews, particularly someone like Tiger, they just seem more relaxed with I think yourself in particular, but with the ex-players. Is that because there's that kind of shared bond, that shared experience of having been out there and done it themselves?
I think so. I think it makes a difference. That it certainly does for me, and I think it certainly does for me because also I'm quite young for this job, which is rather than that being testament to the fact I was good at it young, it's more the fact that I was crap at golf earlier. So I started down this road earlier than I was probably supposed to. But I played with all these guys. Spieth, okay, we're talking about guys there like that. That's a different window. But because they're all mates with like Ricky and Rory and all that, and they all know me because I played. It doesn't change anything. They know that I'm still there in a different capacity. And I noticed it with people like Justin Rose, and Rosie and I are really close because we play together. He still has to. There's an element of him having to. Right, hang on. You have to make. This is the media after all. This is going as much as it's your mate Doe across from you. They're going to consume this however you do it. So be smart. You don't have to. You don't owe me anything. You got to do what you got to do, and he's very professional in that way. And I think that's the hardest thing for the guys who I'm really close with to make sure, like, oh, well, okay, it's not just having a giggle here in the bar, are we? This is we've got to do this is work, and this is what we do. But it certainly helps to open them up a bit, and I think they understand. And I think they understand. I get when something's happened. And to be fair, people, you can still be, I think, an expert in our sport and ask great questions about having done it. I don't think you have to have done it. I just think it helps if you have.
As per usual, these things go very quickly, and we're drastically quickly running out of time. So actually, there's a couple of questions about, Martin 489 there about European Tour and how it emerges. And I think just golf generally, what it does in the future from here forwards, is is there anything in particular? You say a lot of the ideas come from the crew and things with Sky. The way that the coverage has changed, the way it's letting the consumer in. Is there what would you like to see from golf as a sport and from the coverage of golf moving forwards?
I would like to see a global tour. Is what I'd like to see. However that happens. I would like to see the best players in the world teeing up all the time. I do find it peculiar. Happens irregularly, but there are weeks where the field is almost as good. Abu Dhabi would be an example. Abu Dhabi and Phoenix, is it? That go now. They keep moving. Was it Torrey Pines? I can never remember. They budge around so much. But where you got, it's sort of which one's better, which is weird in sport. It's weird. It's like, hang on. So Rory won there, but then Brooks won there. So which one? Who won? So who's better? Hang on, who went? He went above him in the world rankings. It all becomes quite confusing.
Yeah.
I just like the idea when we get the best players together to play more often. So I'd like, however that happens, for the two to end up with that being the top tier of golf. The Rolex Series have been brilliant for the European Tour. One of the people put down there, do you think it's going to be difficult for the European Tour on the back of this? I think everyone's going to battle. I think European Tour, we know, aren't in as good a financial position, obviously, as the PGA Tour. I think the Rolex Series have been successful in bringing the best players together more often, which was their goal. So that's been great. I do worry a little bit about events like ones I've won, like the BMW International Open, for instance, the Dutch Open. Great events, iconic events on the European Tour over the years with great champions from, Sevis and Langers and all the R greats and Montes and people have won all these tournaments because that used to be the hallmark of the European Tour, like these big events. Now the Rolex stand above all these. So it's really hard at these slightly smaller ones, still great events, to get the same quality there. Are they just going to come for Rolex ones and they're going to miss some of them? And I don't know. Time will tell for that. The Rolex has been great for bringing the better players, but we get that less often. I worry for some of the smaller events on tour for the future, potentially, especially on the back of where we are now. And this is tough. I mean, the European Tour will do everything they can to try and make this work in the future.
Yeah, so it's about making it as much of an event watching it. It's actually there was a question about men's and ladies golf, more mixed events moving forward. Do you think there'll be more of those? I'd quite like to see some slightly different formats. I'd love to see a par 3 tournament if there was a par 3 course worth holding. I think that'd be a great change.
I don't necessarily see there needing to be. I mean, there could be a bump in ladies' coverage if you mix it with men's. So I see the benefit there for ladies' golf, which is great to try and help that because we can afford to do that. And I think things like Henrik and Annika's event, superb. Yeah. I don't see it being the future, men and women playing together. And also to make it so that they're competing against each other, it's very difficult. Yeah. It's not as simple as, just ladies' tees, men's tees. Everything changes. The course design is different. Yeah. We've seen that from the Golf Sixes. Because you can't just say, they all end up in the same place off the tee. Well, that's not fair for the women still, is it? Because where the man's hitting a 7-iron, they're hitting a 5-iron or a 4-iron. So, and then, if you budge them to the same club, all of a sudden the bunkers aren't in play for the women, but they are for the men. So it's complicated and it feels a bit contrived, but I think we should do everything to try and help grow women's golf and spread it, because the benefits of the game to showcase and to bring people into our sport, we should be doing everything we can for that. I think Annika and Henrik's event, for instance, will see more like that, but I don't think it's going to be a theme for the future where eventually it will be all men's and women's playing together.
So literally a couple of minutes left. I wanted to touch on your tee time tips. I think that's something that something that's really grown into that sort of, for want of a better phrase, sort of mini series that's been done with Sky. It started off with clips of Wentworth, and I love the fact you put your outtakes on it. I think that's great fun. But is that something that will continue to?
Very good. There's a lot of outtakes, trust me, to choose from.
Is that something that you're going to develop a little bit moving forward? So we've only got about 90 seconds left, but
no, I won't. The tee time tips will grow as it grows organically. We're not going to force them. The idea of this is to make golf a little. It's built on my experience. You'll always do a good job talking about something you're passionate about that's affected your life. Golf has affected my life. I was good, and then I sucked. Why did I suck? I overcomplicated it. It's about making it more enjoyable, more accessible for people, for growing the game, and that's such a horribly used phrase. But in terms of making it more fun, making it more appealing to people to play the game, keeping it simple, getting the maximum amount of enjoyment out of it. Very lucky that obviously Links have backed me with that over the last couple of years as well, and we've worked together and we make these great programs together that are fun as well, because it's got to be a bit of fun. Golf's supposed to be fun. as much as you might want to take 2 shots off your score, if you don't enjoy it, don't bother.
Well, I think that's something that's going to come out of all of this now, is that we're just going to
Yeah.
enjoy being out there.
Yeah. Does it matter what you shoot? I mean, who cares what we shoot that first round back? Because it's going to be a big number. Make peace with it now.
Listen, I want to thank you so much for your time this evening. It says the hour's flown by, as I knew it would, and really grateful for having you on. It's been great having you, and hopefully we'll see you soon. And keep up the good work.
Yeah. Love to everyone. Take care, mate. Stay safe, folks.
Love for the family. Cheers, mate.